Tomorrow, inside the mind of a murder suspect on the run. What could make someone a ticking time bomb, and what are the police doing to get their man? Find out on the CBS Evening News.
Some men only dream about it.
Two beautiful women, it just sounded exciting.
And they're not the only ones.
I answered a personal ad for another girl. We hit it off, and she's been with us ever since.
What if your lover wanted to bring a third party into the picture?
I was jealous that my husband could actually enjoy somebody as much as he enjoyed me.
Three-way relationships that turned into nightmares on the next Maury.
Join us at 9 right here on Channel 3. Now, Eyewitness News Night Beat.
Good evening. We have breaking news now on the Andrew Cunanan situation. In just a moment, we're going to be taking you live to Miami Beach for a live report with our own Dave Failing. But apparently there is word now that there was a body inside that houseboat that we mentioned earlier in the evening where SWAT teams had surrounded, apparently thinking that Andrew Cunanan was inside.
There was a caretaker in there who had reported that he'd been shot at by somebody in there, and the SWAT team came in, and they had helicopters all over the place, and the SWAT team in place moved in. And at first report, they said nobody had been found in there. Now we hear there's a body's been found, but we don't know who the body is. Could it be Andrew Cunanan?
Yes.
We'll find out.
WTVJ-TV is saying it's unclear whether the body is that of Cunanan, who is, again, the prime suspect in the slaying of Gianni Versace earlier this last week. We now go live to Dave Failing, standing by in Miami Beach. Dave.
Well, there was a lot of confusion here tonight in Miami over exactly what happened at a houseboat that is less than 3 miles from the Gianni Versace murder scene and a place where Andrew Cunanan, the wanted serial killer, alleged serial killer, had been known to frequent. Earlier this afternoon, for about 4 hours, there was a police standoff with what they thought was an armed gunman inside, that houseboat. After about 4 hours, heavily armed police went in. They reported at that time that they found no one inside the boat. Now, there are broadcast reports here in Miami tonight that there has been a body found inside this houseboat, that the person committed suicide, possibly with a .40 caliber handgun, the same kind of gun that Cunanan was supposed to have used in at least a couple of murders. And there is, of course, speculation and some reports that this is the body of Andrew Cunanan. The FBI will not comment on this. The local police, Miami Beach Police, are about to hold a news conference. And it is at that news conference that we expect to get some answers as to if, in fact, a body was found and whose body that is. That is the latest from Miami. Dave Failing, CBS News. Now back to you.
All right, Dave, thank you. And, of course, we'll continue to monitor the situation. And if we get more from CBS or from the police in Miami, we'll be sure to let you know first right here.
And in other news now, a major overhaul for Hartford Public Schools.
That's right. The new superintendent said she would do it, and tonight she did. Next year, Hartford schools will be full of different leaders after dozens of changes announced tonight. Bulkley High was the site of the meeting. It's also one of the schools that's going to get a new principal. And NightBEAT reporter Jennifer Watson is there live. Jennifer.
Al, Superintendent Patricia Daniel and the Board of Trustees have been on the job for only a few months. Now, a lot of people wondered when they would really flex their decision-making muscles. Tonight they did.
We have to shoot Dr. Daniel out. We have to shoot her out.
Outside, protesters.
The team that will lead our young people forward for the 1997-98 school year.
Inside, changes. Over 50 people were transferred or put into new positions. Hartford Public High and Bulkley High School, two of the city's most troubled schools, had big changes. Principals and vice principals were replaced at both schools. But the focus tonight remained on Amato Cruz, who sat pensively, waiting for it to be official that he was no longer the principal of Hartford High.
Mr. Amato Cruz, Director, Dropout Prevention and Attendance Improvement.
The announcement of Cruz's new position was met with a smattering of boos and applause. He somberly joined the others with their new positions at the front of the stage and was in line for congratulations from Superintendent Daniel and the Board of Trustees.
I always said I would serve in whatever capacity would help students. So I'll be catching fallen stars and put them back into heaven.
One surprise, no announcement was made as to who will replace Cruz as principal.
To me, that must mean they're going to conduct some sort of extensive search for the principal.
Hernan LaFontaine, the chair of Hartford Public High's governance team, says the Board of Trustees made huge decisions without talking to the people in the community. and that Superintendent Daniel voted in 50 new leaders of the city's children, without any discussion.
She is directly, unilaterally making all the decisions, and where I come from, that's called a dictatorship.
Now, we did talk to many people tonight who said they're happy with any change at all, that it was desperately needed, but just as many say they're not happy with the way it happened. Now, I talked to Amato Cruz about how disappointed he was, and he simply said he will continue to serve the students of Hartford in any way he can. He said he's going to stay with the Hartford school system and stick it out. Al, back to you.
Jennifer Watson on the Night Beat in Hartford tonight.
Breaking news, this just into us. Police have reportedly told a Miami TV station that Andrew Cunanan is dead. This news is breaking. We're just getting the details into us right now, but earlier we heard Dave Failing mentioning about the body that was found apparently inside that houseboat that was surrounded earlier by SWAT teams in Miami Beach. And apparently, as I mentioned, police have reportedly told a Miami TV station that Andrew Cunanan is dead.
As soon as we get the positive identification on the body, if there's a news conference by the police, we'll get that information to you. But again, it appears, at least according to a Miami TV station, they say the police have told them that Andrew Cunanan is dead.
And we plan on taking network coverage as soon as that begins to break for us also, so stay tuned for the latest details. And other news now, fierce flooding from the remnants of Hurricane Danny proving both damaging and deadly in the southeast, and it is headed this way. Milton will have that in a moment, but first, the pictures. We're talking about the Charlotte, North Carolina area. The heavy rains flooded creeks and closed roads there. Stalled cars and tractor trailers were scattered about. One man was even up to his waist in water in his own living room. More than 6 inches fell between midnight and 2 this afternoon.
And rescue teams are still looking for a 5-year-old girl lost in the flooding. She was playing with 4 companions when she fell into a creek. Her friends have all been found safe, but she's missing. Meanwhile, the flash flooding has forced dozens of people to be evacuated from their homes. Tonight, thousands of residences have also been hit by power outages, and shelters have been set up at schools.
And this is perhaps the most spectacular video coming in from the flooded region. Take a look at this coal train. It got stuck on a washed-out trestle that gave way, causing a locomotive to just come crashing right down into a torrent of water. Nobody was on board there, but there are environmental concerns now. Authorities think the engine had 2,500 gallons of diesel fuel in it.
And farther south, outside Atlanta, heavy rains are also wreaking havoc. Danny's destructive remnants, standing water in particular, causing the roof to collapse at an envelope warehouse there, but 2 employees inside at the time escaped without injury. The rain's also responsible for knocking down trees and power lines, cutting off electricity to traffic lights and homes.
Now, that same weather system is now heading up the East Coast. The leading edge has reached New Jersey. And what is in store for us tomorrow? Well, Hilton has a first look at Connecticut's most accurate forecast. Hilton.
Donna, I've got to confess, the information you just showed on that map was based on old material. New material tells a different story. We'll have that in our regular weather. But for tonight, increasing clouds, temperatures 58 to 64 degrees, and when you wake up in the morning, near 60 degrees with some rain developing, especially in southwestern Connecticut. During the day, you'll see rain developing across much of the area, 65 to 72 by evening. Rain should have overspread most of Connecticut, but what we're looking at now is no big deal for precipitation. But I will go into the details with you and show you where all the wet weather's headed and show you what that means for your plans and maybe for the GHO for the rest of the week. All that coming up shortly, folks.
All right, we'll catch you later, Hilton. If you recently purchased a small television set from a private party, it could help solve a murder mystery. The slaying of Olga Parlante, a 71-year-old Hartford native who was found strangled earlier this year in her Florida apartment. Police in Fort Lauderdale say her 20-inch General Electric color TV was missing and might have been taken and later sold by her killer. You may contact the Broward County Crime Stoppers at area code 954-493-TIPS. Also, the Parlante family is offering a reward in the case. Hartford police make an arrest today in a drive-by shooting from back in May. 26-year-old James Reynolds of Hartford is charged with shooting a woman in broad daylight as she walked on Albany Avenue in Hartford's North End. The woman was not seriously hurt.
It is the eve of sentencing day for Alex Kelly. The now convicted rapist will learn his punishment for an 11-year-old crime, and as you might expect, it's the talk of the town in his hometown of Darien. And NightBEAT reporter Dennis House is there live. Dennis, what are you hearing out there?
Donna, good evening. Alex Kelly was a big deal back here in the 1980s for his athletic prowess and subsequent rape arrest. He's also a big deal here tonight, and that's because Tomorrow he will be sentenced for rape, and that's all everybody is talking about here in Darien. Presumably, Kelly, who has a 6 p.m. curfew, is at home tonight, enjoying what could be his last night of freedom. The person who answered the phone at the Kelly home said, quote, "We have no comment." And when Eyewitness News approached the house, the lights immediately went out. But very soon, Kelly could be giving up life in this exclusive Fairfield County town of Tony boutiques and fancy cars for this, prison.
Yeah, I'm glad. I hope he gets some time. That's for sure. He deserves it.
The Alex Kelly sentencing is the talk of the town here, where everybody knows his story. The star of Darien High School's wrestling team, Kelly was arrested for rape in 1986 and fled the country. He lived in Europe for the next 8 years, a life on the lam financed by his parents. But last month, Kelly was convicted of raping a 16-year-old neighbor who went unnamed until right after the verdict. And now Adrian Bach-Ortolano will testify at Kelly's sentencing. She wants him to go to prison. Some feel the punishment should be more harsh.
I mean, he created violent crime. I mean, he raped somebody. I would just kill him, fry him.
The death penalty is not an option. The maximum sentence in this case is 20 years. But some Darienites feel that's too harsh.
I think this whole thing has been blown out of proportion, don't you, Earl?
I do.
Yeah, blown out of proportion.
Is there any such thing as a fair sentence tomorrow, then, do you think?
Probably not.
I don't know.
Probably not.
I just don't know.
As far as I'm concerned,
I hope that he gets a break.
Yeah, I do too.
I really do.
I hope he gets a break.
And some here just want the whole thing to be over, saying Alex Kelly has marred their town.
Just this reputation he's given our town, like we're a bunch of rich snobs whose parents will, if we commit a crime such as rape or something, our parents will finance 8 years of going to Europe and living a life of luxury.
There are also some who fear Alex Kelly will not show up in court tomorrow, remembering his 1986 run to Europe, but he's wearing an electronic bracelet, as you may remember. That will go off should he leave the area. Now, Kelly's lawyers filed a couple of motions today. Number one, they'd like the minimum sentence imposed, which could be 7 years. They don't want the 20-year maximum. They'd also like him to remain free on bond while he awaits appeal. Sentencing is scheduled for 10 a.m. in Stamford. Channel 3's Barbara Pinto will be there. Donna, back to you.
Dennis House live in Darien tonight, and look for continuing coverage of Alex Kelly's sentencing on Eyewitness News throughout the day tomorrow.
All right, now we have the latest for you on the cross-country manhunt for suspected serial killer Andrew Cunanan. As we reported just a little while ago, a Miami TV station is saying that there was a body found in that houseboat that was the subject of a SWAT team siege a little while ago, earlier this evening. And the police apparently have told this TV station that it is Andrew Cunanan, but at a news conference, they have announced that there is no positive ID yet.
Indeed, police just wrapped up a news conference in Miami Beach moments ago. We're just getting the details from that now. Again, we do have word that there was a body inside. No confirmation that it is that of suspected serial killer Andrew Cunanan.
All right, we're going to have you know this, too, that the police and those who know designer Gianni Versace, who was murdered last week, and who know the murderer, say an acquaintance or unsuspecting stranger may be helping Cunanan elude authorities. So far, Cunanan, who is also wanted in 4 other killings, has managed to evade capture, even though his picture has been plastered on television, newspapers, the internet, and on wanted posters.
Across the country, 2 prominent people in San Francisco have been warned they may be Cunanan's next targets. They're identified as oil heir Gordon Getty and socialite Harry DeWilt. DeWilt, who you see talking to a reporter here, says their names turned up in FBI interviews with people Cunanan knew from his stays in San Francisco. And he and Getty appear to be 2 of Cunanan's biggest idols in San Francisco. They were, apparently, because of their high society lifestyles.
Down in San Diego, jittery people want to know if the man on the FBI's most wanted list will show for this weekend's Gay Pride Parade. Police and the FBI have assured residents that they will be watching on foot, bicycle, and horseback in uniform and in plain clothes. Cunanan once lived in the mostly gay neighborhood where the parade is going to be held.
And the FBI is now analyzing evidence from last night's reported Cunanan sighting in Lebanon, New Hampshire. The agency sent a $1 bill and some other items from a sports memorabilia shop to its crime lab for analysis. An FBI spokesman says that possible sighting is being taken seriously, but another near a supermarket in Claremont, New Hampshire, did not come from a reliable source.
Now, those were just 2 of the many reported sightings of Cunanan around the country. Less than half an hour before the Lebanon, New Hampshire call, police in North Carolina, nearly 900 miles away, were checking out a reported sighting. And today in Houston, police spent time on what turned out to be a false report. For the record, there have been no confirmed reports of Cunanan outside South Florida since Gianni Versace's murder there last week. And again, we can tell you that we've just received word that the mayor of Miami Beach says that a body found on that houseboat in the Intracoastal Waterway earlier tonight has been tentatively identified as that of Andrew Cunanan. The police chief, Richard Barretto, would not go that far, however. He says the body resembles Cunanan, but he says any identification will have to await forensic tests. So we'll see.
We'll keep you posted on the late details that we're receiving by the moment right now, so stay tuned.
All right, if you were watching CBS and Channel 3 tonight, we'll bet you were, you just saw how adults fighting among themselves really affect children during a divorce.
We're talking about 4-year-old Brock. And coming up, see how one state is trying to avoid a bitter custody battle like that one.
Also on the Night Beat, one state's action tonight goes against the wishes of both the Pope and Mother Teresa. We're going to explain.
2 celebrity trials, one's now in the hands of the jury and the other's about to go there.
And fierce flooding not only striking the southeastern U.S., but also in Europe. We'll tell you where this scene is taking place. Stay with us, the Night Beat's coming right back.
Channel 3 Eyewitness News. This is Connecticut's news station.